Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on June 3rd, 2024, at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I personally utilize to govern virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal effort. Now, today we're going to be looking at literally your self-worth and the impact that has on the universe around you. The reality is that there are, and I don't know if you believe in other races or not. I'm not here to prove it one way or the other. What I will tell you is virtually every race that I've run into has had the same similar complications. That was really poor English. Has had very similar complications in their early years that mankind is having right now. Not the least of which is even way back, and you gotta go back millennia really, that for people to figure out, for you to see the similarities. Mankind has still got this brilliant idea that life boils down to what men can breathe, and that is not the way life works. Okay, but what you gotta realize is the way you see your life is the way that you're portraying it to everybody, and that has an echo effect on the universe around you. Kevin, you are in with the gold. Actually, it's been a pretty decent run today. Hopefully the same can be said for you. Now, when we look at self-worth, what we are looking at is something very simple. Are you content with your life? And are you worth putting the effort in for it, to make the change? And in case you haven't noticed, my throat seems to be having fun, so we'll see how that goes. Just a heads up. I find it really annoying when that happens, but I can't do much with it. But the reality of it is this. You take a look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you content with the path your life is on? If the answer is yes, then you carry on with it. Okay, you stay on the path you're on. And the reason for that is because by staying on that path, you'll manage to alter the trajectory your life takes. But think of it this way. I keep getting asked by people, how do you make contact with off-worlders? Well, it's not like you can pick up the phone and dial them up. I love people with an IQ. I just wish I knew more. I take it you're seeing that there in their storm. And let's see. Oh, I can't do that, I don't think. No. Now, one of the biggest things that I look at is this. Okay. Now that's an interesting mess. That one I need to go. And I appreciate that, King. With that in mind, I suggest that well, I know Storm is listening in.
I'm right here, Keith.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, King is back in and won't let him change his name for another 15 days.
Right. So here,
So,
yeah. What we'll do, King, is we're going to go ahead. For the time being, I'm going to hide your comments. That doesn't kick you out. It means you can still listen. And it's just if you feel the need to respond something, I will see it, but the rest of the chat won't see it. Okay. So that way you can sit, you can still be here, you can still listen in. I'll try to keep an eye out for you to if you post in the chat to see if there's something that we need to ask you need to respond to. But that way, in 10 days, when you can change your name, you go ahead and do that, and then we'll just take off the hide, and everything will be fine and dandy. How's that sound?
See, the nice part there, like this kind of maneuver, I can understand. You know, because I prefer not running, as I'm sure you're well aware, Storm, and to all of you out there, I prefer running things decent and running things with an open table. But the problem is, I see way too many complications come in. Oh, good. King's managed to get into it here. Obviously, you've done something there. And King's gone good. So this is a good thing. The reality is that I have seen this sort of thing happen, and civilization itself is frankly in serious trouble right now. But it's because people don't think things through. Curiosity Storm did, because I'm not in the YouTube chat. Did we get that little addendum to the rules updated?
We certainly did.
Fantastic. The reality is the way that and this is something we got to realize. As a species, the Galactic Consortium is watching what mankind is doing. They are noticing when mankind on the whole is doing something stupid, but they're also keeping an eye on whether or not individuals and small groups are starting to make headway, because that's where the changes start. It starts off with one person standing up and going, I'm not happy with the way that society is evolving. Then it grows to more people, and you get little pockets coming up. And sooner or later, the pockets that don't agree with it outweigh the pockets and the administration is trying to make it happen. Now, the reality of it is I can only do so much. It's a question how much I can do, but that's not a question I'm willing to deal with at this point. When you're looking at the way you treat other people, and this is why I say the biggest thing that is absolutely imperative, you've got to start looking in the mirror and going, I am just as important as every member of every other species. This does not mean that you have better talent, that you're better at everything. It means you're of value. Okay. And the reality is there will always be somebody better. There will always be somebody worse. Now, the number of people that have come in here with frankly stupid names and done nothing about it. This is where somebody like King steps up and goes, okay, I've made the effort. I can't do anything for the moment. So we work out a balance point. Had it come back in a different fashion, I'm not really, as a matter of fact, I literally am found out in the StreamYard here, I cannot turn around and number one, I can't block anybody out. I don't know how. That's where Storm and LA come in. Okay. However, you can bet your bottom dollar if I see a problem and I open my mouth on that one of them will jump on it. The neat little thing about it, okay, when I look at the whole situation, did I miss something here? Oh, I forgot. King, you are actually in with the silver. And Steve Knox, you are in with the bronze. Now let's Go down to the bottom here. The fact of the matter is, when we're looking at the way we treat each other, when we look at the way that we start calling each other. When I was working for the line psychic fairs, they hung my co-psychics, if you will, my compatriots. They turned around and hung a name on me. Okay, they called me the Celestial Prophet because I literally read everything from stars to stone. Okay, I even take a look at star placement as in the physical layout at times. Now, with that in mind, okay, people ask me, why don't you use that for a name as far as your professional name goes? I went, I've been called enough different names. I don't really care too much what people call me. I did find out that isn't entirely correct. Okay, I found out one set me off the other day. And I'm not about to tell you what it is because there's no point in going, oh, by the way, this is a good way to tick me off. I'll leave that to somebody to find out the hard way. Okay, but it will be very blunt. But I did find one name somebody called me, and by the way, that name was not the devil incarnate or any number of things that could have gone along with that. It was a very mundane term. But that being said, when we take a look at it, when you desire to make a name for yourself, if you can stand up and proudly say, this is what I did to most people, okay, that's when you're on the right track. Now, the one extenuating circumstance in that is if you are sitting there and you're trying to pull a surprise party or a surprise birthday gift, don't tell the person that you're buying the gift for before they get it. Okay? Yes, you should be able to stand up and proudly say, this is what I did. Okay? It just boils down to there are certain boundaries that are logical, that make sense. When you look at the way you treat your fellow people on this planet, the off-worlders, you can bet your bottom dollar they're watching what's going on. And they are watching the way you treat those close to you. The reality of it is this. If you treat the people close to you poorly, this is not good advertising for your personality to encourage them, the off-worlders, to connect with you. Okay, nor is it good promotional detail regarding ancient races. What we have to realize is how you treat the people closest to you is very critical in the impact you're going to have on the universe at large and on the people out there. Remember, not all people are bipedal, as in two-legged. Not all people have a symmetrical body. Okay, life is simply, in a nutshell, something that is able to reproduce itself. Okay, and depending on the species, sometimes you'll get singles, you'll get single effort. I believe it's called mitosis. I could be wrong on that. Sometimes you get binary, meaning they have two genders and that's what they utilize. Now, in my notes, I forget which one offhand, I did come across one race that literally is a trinary race. Okay, they are a trigender race, rather. And literally, it takes 3 of them to interact, to reproduce. Nathan, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Nathan here has his own show, as it says there, from the Quantum Show. Absolutely. Drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do give him a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and share the daylights out of the thing. It is this sharing that is going to make things happen, that is going to help turn this world around. And it's going to take work. It's not something that's going to happen overnight by any functional means. One of the things we have to look at here is when you're taking a look at your world, ask yourself this: are you treating people the same way you desire to be treated? If you are not, if you would not appreciate being treated the way you're treating somebody else, clearly you're not following karmic law. I will tell you, it will backfire. Now, the important factor here is the message that I bring to this world, again, is for everyone. And this is why we do our best to give people the benefit of the doubt, to give people the opportunity to alter the path they're on. If they don't take it, okay, Storm's got a set of guidelines that he works with, and it goes, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to work with it. If you get a warning, take the warning seriously. Storm has been a lot of things in his life, and subtle is not really a strong suit there. I mean, compared to me, he's definitely subtle. Of course, we are talking about, whoop. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much there. Appreciate that. We are talking about making changes so everybody can learn to work together. Now, like I was saying earlier, I was asked why I didn't take the psychic name they gave me and put it to use. Well, the reason being, I'm Keith. That's just the way it is. Now, yes, some people and some businesses do know me by my middle name. That's because of computers. But, because computers do not take middle names well. Okay, even in today's world. With that in mind, I don't worry about it with businesses. Okay, but you will find I'm really subtle on my approach to things. Yeah, not. But when you're treating the people around you in an incongruous way of dealing with things, the off-worlders will notice. And as a species, they are watching to see if the majority of people are doing that or if it's individuals. Okay? And rest assured, if you think what you guys call Big Brother is invasive or obtrusive or whatever you want to call it, okay, that's nothing compared to the laws they have, and enforce the consortium. Okay, now one of the important factors that I look at is this: when you find out there's a problem, act on changing it immediately. Whether you've got a problem with it or not doesn't matter, because here's the way that karmic law works. Okay, yes, it is a case of do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. The other side of that, or more to the point, a more refined form of that, is quite literally, you must follow the laws of the land in which you are. Okay, to be clear, and this, by the way, applies here and off-world, and in what you guys know as inner Earth or Hollow Earth. All species have the same issue. Okay, all of them that I know of have gone through the same thing. Now, here's the kicker: if you're treating people in a way you would not be content being treated, it will come back to bite you. Okay, especially around here. Now, one of the things that I take a look at is I know people have been misguided quite seriously for the last 10,000 years, easy. Okay, and it's starting to get better, but it's going to take work on everybody's part. You know, it really is one of these things that if we're not taking responsibility for our own actions, you're leaving it to somebody else. And here's the way that works. Carry on. Go, I'm not dealing with it. It's a government's duty. Pray it doesn't get off world to their duty. See, what you call God will look at you and go, okay, you're choosing to live that life. Here's the consequences that go with it. No problem. That's your call. Off-worlders have a simpler method. You're starving in this part of the world. Now, understand, in my opinion, there's no food shortage. What there is in some areas, don't get me wrong. But a bigger problem is the amount of greed, especially that is being implemented to stop things from happening. Now, absolutely, natural food, actually raised, home raised, properly gardened food is better for you. But I will tell you, off world, on the generation ships, they have nurseries, they've got greenhouses. Okay, but if it is done right, and this is where mankind's ability to start replicating things and start making, you guys call it genetically modified. Well, it is. But when you start getting off world, wait till you get the 3D printed version. Okay, the replicator machines. As long as the scientists are using their brains and creating something, combining things that is nutritionally of value, whether it's done in a lab or done in a garden. Either way, you're not taking that many, you're not taking several tons of food off the planet on a starship, okay, in order to have fresh food. Now here's the kicker that you may not be aware of. Okay, and I forget what the name of it is, but I think it's a Mir space station. Okay, it's a bit of a derelict, it's a bit of a wreck. Here's what most people are not aware of. Number one, and do not, I'll tell you right now, I can't tell you where I got the information because I woke up knowing it. Okay, but that I am aware of, there are 3 multinational space stations in orbit now. Okay, technology is currently being developed to pull an asteroid into and this is being done by human ingenuity, by the way. Is being worked on to pull an asteroid into pulling a blank here, geosynchronous orbit around the moon. Okay, now here's where things get funky. And this is where your sense of worth, your sense of value comes in handy. Somebody down here, I don't know who, came up with the idea of let's put an asteroid in geosynchronous orbit around the moon. That way we can build a base for literally building interstellar starships. Because the reality is, it's going to be a royal pain getting off the planet with a full-size starship, especially if it's a generation ship. Now, with that in mind, that's still several years down the road. Okay, it would not surprise me to find out that human ingenuity brought this about within the next 50 to 70 years. Okay, but here's the thing that might be being overlooked. Now we already know where gravity is concerned. It affects the tides. We know this. What most people are not aware of, primarily because trying to get a reading on it could be a problem. But the moon itself, no, it's not made of green cheese or Swiss cheese. Okay, but the moon itself is not a living organism. But and that doesn't mean it won't ever be. Okay, but what the moon is is it does have a very tiny sliver of atmosphere on its surface. But we are talking about something that is maybe a micron deep right now. However, here's the kicker to it. You take an asteroid, you put it in a geosynchronous orbit. That is going to start the process, essentially, of a shake and bake colony. It will enhance the atmospheric level, and eventually, and we are talking way down the road, okay, mankind might be able to pull off a little quicker because they have something. You guys, and many of you complain about this thing called HARP. It's a first generation atmospheric generator. As they pull the asteroid into orbit, okay, if they deploy one of these HARP machines on the surface of the moon at the same time, they will be able to accelerate the growth that way. Okay, now mankind is ingenious. Okay, yes, I've got my complications with them. Dumbing a bag of hammers half the time. But there are individuals that have remarkable insight. And it's that insight that makes the human race that much more dangerous to the off-worlders. So what we're looking at, why? As in vertigo. Don't like that. The fact that mankind is able to think outside the box and make things change is an important factor. Now, I gotta ask. Well, I don't have to. I was about to ask what Nathan is doing in Houston. But when we take a look at it, mankind is evolving very nicely, and they are being watched. Are they a member of the consortium right now? No. But your ability to look in the mirror and go, I can accomplish this. That sense of self, that sense of self-worth is the thing that makes the biggest impact. Okay, one of the things we have to remember is that society does not change if people are content. Well, I don't know about you, but I've heard a staggering amount of people complaining about the way society is going and the way that the so-called leaders are guiding it. Therefore, oops, what do we get here? I think I missed something. I did not see that come in. Where are we? Joseph, definitively, my condolences for those left behind. You know, Joseph Lorenzen has just made an announcement here. Okay, and what he said is death of a friend's father. Okay, unfortunately, this happens. Hopefully, he was in his senior years, as in had a long life, and preferably a good one. When we take a look at your self-worth, okay, finding your strengths and building on them, absolutely imperative. Okay, absolutely. Oh, thank you very much, Storm. That explains that. Okay, when we take a look at it, if you take, okay, that threw me for a complete loop. Lost my track there altogether. Like I said, throat's not working well. Apparently the head isn't either. But when we take a look at the way society is evolving, if we stay on the path we're on, we're going to have troubles. Now, individuals have come up with brilliant ideas. Okay. And a lot of the starships that you're seeing put together are quite literally being designed. They are being reverse engineered. So you're going to love this one. Many of the new movies coming out are being developed with Starship and with Starship capability. Thing you got to realize is the video is a good place to test things, primarily because it doesn't kill half as many people. Okay, you may end up, you may be playing a character and the character dies, but you yourself carry on. Now, as they build this station, and hopefully I'm around long enough to see it, like I said, we're looking 50 to 70 years by my guesstimation. I intend on living another, well, we're 24, so I'm targeting another 76 years. Okay, I think that's right. Yeah, I am aiming to live another 76 years. Right now, I'm 61, making me 134 at that point. 37. Oh, absolutely it is, Joseph. And Joseph goes, it's a narrow track some folks' brain train runs on. Absolutely. There's another saying that goes, there's a fine line, a fine difference between insanity and genius. You get to figure out whether or not I'm completely nuts. I've had 3 professional psychiatrists and psychologists go, nope, Keith, your mind is fine. You're doing fine. Except you've got one heck of a vocal temper. And that is something I am definitively working on correcting. Because the way I see it, it's one of these things that has to be corrected. Where is my list? Now, the neat part about it is this. When you focus on making changes to your life to make things run a little more smoothly, that's when you'll see the real changes happen. Now, I always held that when you're aiming at doing something, do it well. Now, I watched where it came to advertising. Okay, I watched the way people pay for every other form of advertising, and I'm sitting there thinking one night, going, "How come nobody's bothered figuring out how to pay word of mouth?" Now, that was pretty much where the thought line ended until I went to bed. And I woke up with an understanding of how it worked. Okay, promptly built the system. Now, stupidity does reign very well in my system, like in my brain. So, I've run into a couple of setbacks, primarily because I decided best be getting my bill sorted out. Where it comes to you, look in the mirror. Understand you didn't get into the mess that you're in. I'd lay odds virtually every one of you is not in perfect shape. Okay, you've all got your hiccups, you've all got the skeletons in your closet. Hopefully, none of the people in this chat room have a literal skeleton in their closet. Myself, I don't keep mine in the closet, I keep him up here. See, this way, if you're looking for the skeleton I've got in mine, here you go. That's the skeleton I've got in mind. Plastic rendition. I don't have the rest of the skeleton, which means we got some poor skeleton walking around out there going, "Where's my head?" And I don't think that's going to come together all that well. But I will tell you, if you're not content with the way your life is going, you can bet your bottom dollar the off-worlders are watching. Now, something you gotta remember, they're watching on a gross level. Okay, how is the majority of society operating? Oh, there you go. Joseph goes, they say I'm sane, but hypervigilant. See, I like these ones. These are ones I've collected over the years from people. that one, and not that. Is this the other one? Nope. Oh, there it is. Missed again. Anyway, this is an old-fashioned bumper sticker. I keep it on the side of my metal filing cabinet. Okay. Whoop, let's turn it that way. There we go. People used to call me weird all the time. But then somebody gave me this as a bumper sticker. So I keep it handy. Whoa, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Whoop. One of the things that I keep looking at is this. I see the world in a very different fashion, but I also see the off-worlders in a different fashion. And this is one of the reasons why I deal with them the way I do. Now, of course, somebody out there is going to be sitting there going, well, number one, where's this information coming from? And number two, why believe them? Okay, so let's get the first part out of the way. When I look at the off-world organization, the off-world community, I get my information firsthand. Am I going to prove it? No, I'm not. Why should you believe me? Well, you get to figure that out because it really does make a lot of difference to me. Okay, I mean, let's face it. What matters to me is whether I am treating people the way I desire to be treated, in spite of the fact that I go with this information. Of course, here's the other side of this. And this is something you got to realize. If you don't agree with somebody, there's no problem there. But what you got to realize when people go, well, why believe you? Okay, why not? The big thing I look at when you're looking at society on the whole, there are a lot of different people. Everybody happens to be unique. Your ability to look in the mirror and go, I am worth it, may be all that is required for you to stand your ground and stay focused on being true to you. Now remember, all the karmic laws apply to you, to the society on the whole, and to every species I know of, including the individual that you may well call God, the Creator, Allah, all kinds of different names. Okay, but karmic law applies to them as well. This is why it's called a law. When you look at some of the written laws today, I swear they're more like guidelines. Now, do not get me wrong. If a law is there, absolutely follow it. Does not matter what station in life you're in. I knew of a gentleman, and I knew of a police officer that decided that because he was a policeman, he could do what he wanted. Now, this is an abnormal perspective for most of the police I've met. Most of the police I've met in any city, in any country, and in all fairness, I've only been to 2 countries. Most of them are genuinely nice people. But this guy was very full of himself, and there are lots of people, I'm sure you guys have run into somebody. He pulled onto a site and parked his car. He never even asked to pull onto the site. It was a construction site. And when he was asked to move his car, he promptly told the individual involved what they could do with themselves because he was an officer and he could park where he wanted. This is not a good idea. Something to keep in mind. Your station in life, and this applies off-world as well. Here's something about, and I'll come back to that as a matter of fact. This officer decided he was going to park where he chose because he had the right. He had that uniform. So the guy in question that confronted him on it Says, fine, you stay right there. I'm going over there to finish my smoke. And the officer looks at me and goes, well, why are you in such a hurry to leave? The guy looks at him and goes, because you're sitting on 1,500 pounds of TNT and it's rigged to an electronic detonator, which means you key up that radio, you may end up on the other side of the mountain, or at least part of you. He said, I'm just getting outside the blast radius. For some weird reason, the officer got off the site. Now, the reality of it is this. When you're looking at things, use your brains. Okay, your self-worth. Yes, you do have to believe that you have the capacity, but it also requires an amount of common sense. Okay, and that boils down to this. When you're saying things in motion, be absolutely certain you're thinking your actions through concerning the local environment. Okay, because I'm laying pretty solid odds that you don't know everything about every industry. Okay, I ran into a problem today, and Storm was right there to sort it out because somebody tried creating a problem for me. Okay, and tried locking my computer up. I didn't know what to do with it. So I phoned Storm. Okay, because I'm telling you, there is no question. If you don't know what you're doing, like if you're driving too fast, you can't see, take your foot off the gas. Okay, it's a simple maneuver. But when you look at self-worth and your ability to go into outer space, if you're not able, or more to the point, if you're not willing to follow the laws on Earth, you can bet your bottom dollar running a stoplight or a stop sign because you don't feel you should have to worry about it is not half as bad as ignoring the sign on a starship that says airlock recycling, stay out. Okay, laws are put there to make certain people stay alive, at least a little longer than they would otherwise do so. Okay. Now, one of the things we have to remember is when you look at off-worlders, they are essentially the same thing as humans. They just have different toys and different appearances. Okay. Now, I haven't decided entirely what I'm up to next week. Where'd it go? I'm just looking at a list of stuff I've got that I've been working on here. Nope. Not that one. One of these over here has the information. There we are. Nope, that's not it either. Okay, I am not going to fight with it right now. When we look at the way the human race is working, understand if you see a problem, if you see a complication, absolutely imperative, speak up about it. And the reason for speaking up about it is because, number one, you've seen it, they may not have. Number two, if you're asking questions, and this really applies in here, you may have a question that is not on the topic we're discussing. If that is the case, put it in the chat room, preferably in all caps, so that I can find the thing. Okay, the thing with questions you've got, you can bet your bottom dollar that other people have the same problem. Okay, that other people have the same question and may just not have dug up the courage to ask. I do not look at questions as being stupid. Not usually. I mean, there are some that I look at going, how could that be a question? I.e., when the chap that was taking an aquatics instructor course, and he turned around and asked the instructor, during our final exam, do we have to get into the water? Now, I'm not entirely certain what classification you would put that one under, but understand, when we take a look at your sense of self, you've got to develop, and we can walk you through it. Okay, as a matter of fact, we'll do that in about 10 seconds here. You can absolutely develop self-confidence, enhanced self-esteem, okay, an enhanced sense of self-worth. But they're all interconnected. And this is why we get started on that side of it. Okay, the thing we have to remember is it takes time to change the direction something's heading. Okay, as the one law of physics goes, an object at rest will stay at rest until acted upon by some outside force. The same applies to an object in motion. Now, bear in mind, an object in this case, refers to the way your mind is working. Okay, and your mind will get locked onto an idea, or may get locked onto an idea, and then you keep working at it until it starts to move. Okay, and it will continue to grow until something happens that says, this is a bad idea. Okay, now, I tested, you take it on extremely non-combative sense. When I found out that my cousin ate ketchup on just about everything, okay, she swore by ketchup on ice cream. Well, I'd never tried it, so I did the only thing that made sense. I like ketchup, I like ice cream. Why not put them together? I'm telling you, it won't kill you, but I'm recommending you don't put it together. Okay, for me, that was the proof right there. Don't necessarily combine things just because you like them individually. One of the things we have to remember is mankind's ability to go, I can get there. This is a great thing. Okay, and I am a firm believer that virtually anything you set your mind to, you will be able to accomplish. It will take time, it will take effort and persistence. Okay, if you're not willing to stay focused on it, you may run into a problem attaining it. Yeah, Joseph goes, president of megalomaniacs are us. I'm a firm believer myself. Now, am I a megalomaniac? Maniac, maybe. Megala, no. I literally do not see myself as any better than anybody else. A little bit more twisted than some, definitely opinionated. Okay, but here's the kicker. When you get an idea in your head, now let's get started on things, shall we? Because we've been going around in circles here. And maybe it's time to start making things. Honestly, Joseph, I didn't take offense to it. And somehow, from what I gather, I don't think you fit that category. Although, hey, I wonder if I've got that. See, this takes me completely sideways. Now, the internet is a fabulous thing. It really is. Okay. This is a better thesaurus than the internet has ever proven to be. And this one's all written. What have we got here? Uh-oh. Yes, I'm interrupting myself, but that's okay. Like I said, there are 3 people that can contact me that even in the middle of a business meeting, I will take the call. This is just my own role. So that being said, I'm dealing with that myself. Because the way I figure it, if I'm going to do something, I will be straightforward about it. I don't tell people things to make them happy by any means. Okay. Sometimes I luck out and that's the way that it goes. I am not a fast typer. Okay. But when you get an idea in your head, okay, understand you start with the concept. Okay. It's the same, and this is going to sound like a weird comparison. It's like writing a song. Get the tune in your head. Then you throw different bits and pieces at it, and eventually you work out the words. Usually, sometimes, and I do it both directions. Sometimes I write a poem out, and then get a beat. It tends to when it works out into an interesting beat. Net result, I end up with a song. When we're talking about your life, okay, take a look at what's in your house. Are you happy with the way your life is evolving? If you are, stay on course. I'm not the one to tell you whether it's a good idea or a bad one. But let me explain something. Or totally ignore me. But if when you've got an idea in your own head, okay, the more you can involve, the more senses you can involve in it, the easier it is to visualize, the easier it is to make it happen. Okay. And what I'm seeing happen is we do have a stable set of people in here. Use the term stable a little loosely. We've got a consistent number of people in here. And I know it's very minimal at this point. I also know it will grow. But given what I looked at, I was looking at some similarities, which are remarkable similarities to my end. But what it tells me is to get where I'm heading with this stream, I'm looking at probably 3 to 4 years yet before it evolves. Okay. Hopefully you guys will be with me, throughout that growth period. I will tell you, my intention is to make it work. Now, the reality is, if I can't, I will keep moving forward. But I will say, the support I've got and I've received from you guys has been remarkable. Yeah, I was going to look something up here. Go all the way down to here. Where am I looking? ME. I'm actually just looking to make sure I'm right. It's always fun trying to read in the dark, But one thing that I will tell you, don't need that. ME. There we are. 482. This was literally an oddball. It just hit me when that word come up. There we are. Now, that's cute. Also meaning overestimation. There are a lot of words. I could read a lot of things out of this. But the fact of the matter is that I'm looking at it going, people have to realize if you can accomplish almost anything in life if you set your sights low enough. That being said, if you start with small items, you will be able to take care of the bigger ones. It just boils down to whether you're willing to put the effort in. And yes, that is one of those neat little books I'm working on. Where is 504? Spending way too much time on them. Oh, Megalomaniac. Madman, that is the one most people are aware of. Okay, a madman, a lunatic, candidate for Bedlam, you get the idea. Okay, but here's the thing. Whatever name you choose to use to call yourself, okay, what you'll find is it reflects directly on your sense of self-worth. If you tell a child often enough they're an idiot, they will start to believe it. Okay, and once they believe it, it's harder to break it out of it. Okay, now I'm telling you, and I may be the only one that's done so, hopefully not. You have the capacity to literally be almost anything you choose to be. Okay, you might require help. If you do, this is normal. Okay, this is one of those things that is very important to hold on to. Oh, now I can finally spot the thing that tells me how long we've been on air. Like I said, I'm not really good on the technology side, but get it straight in your own head. Are you happy with what you see when you look in the mirror? Are you happy with what you feel when you're around other people? This is the thing it's time to change. Okay. And I know I've said this multiple times. Okay. But this neat little sign, get it on your fridge. Okay. There it is. I am worth it. Get that on your fridge. If you haven't already, get it there now. Okay? Because what this does is reinforces the idea that you actually have an ability worth paying attention to. Honestly, it starts with looking in the mirror. Now, well, that's not entirely correct. Okay? I personally, and I may not know you from Adam, okay, but I am personally firmly convinced that you've got the capacity to change your life for the better. As you do that, it's going to have an effect on the world at large. Let me ask you this. Have you ever sat and watched little children as they learn to do things? Okay, they don't give up very easily. They do give up, but they go through their frustrations and what have you. Newsflash, no matter how old you are, you're still a child. Okay, if you take offense to that, that's okay. But think about it. If you have a mother and a father, not if you know them, but if they coexisted for a little time, as in long enough to conceive you, you're a child. You get to figure out what to do with that. And I get to figure out what to do with my system going sideways. But I'll figure that out after the show. Ultimately, it boils down to this. If you believe that you can make something happen, put the effort into it. Okay, there's four parts to that formula. You've got to have a purpose. Okay, and that purpose is whatever the purpose is. You've got to have a purpose. Give you an example of a client I had years ago. He was 17 at the time, and he came to me. He wanted to know what his future held, and because he says, yeah, ultimately very much the case. Lone, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hey, I think I missed something here. So I'm going to scroll up here. We had Kevin in with the gold. King came in with the silver. Steve went in with the bronze. And then we scroll all the way down. And we did miss it. Nathan, you actually came in with honorable mention. Now, yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Lone, that, kids encourage each other. On the whole, they really do. Kids are not born prejudiced. They are not born greedy. They are not born selfish. They learn by watching adults. Now, I will warn you, this is the same according to all species I've run into. It is up to you as an individual to encourage the people around you. Okay, literally by leading by example. This is why I say, I've got a list here. I'm checking it twice. I'm not going to take the time to bother figuring out who's naughty or nice. Okay, primarily because I'm lazy. No, that's not quite right. Anyway, we digress badly. Now, something you have to realize, whether you believe you can do something or you believe you cannot. This client that I had was brilliant. It was about close to 10 years before the item came out. Okay, but he said he wanted to combine engineering, his love of engineering, and his love of helicopters. So I looked at him and I said, great. We did a little bit of looking. He had a sound idea, but he'd overlooked one thing. Right. And so I asked him, I said, okay, that's a fantastic idea. I like, and you can go places with it. But let me ask you one rather critical question. Okay. And bear in mind, this was before modern day helicopters had an ejection seat. Okay. I looked at him and I says, where does it eject? And he goes, well, it goes up, of course. I looked at him and I kind of tilted my head and I says, well, I'll give you this, sir. Well, actually, it was more, I'll give you this, lad. They will not die from the crash. He looked at me and he missed it all together. He's like, why do you say it like that? Why wouldn't they, I'm glad they won't die from the crash, but you make that sound not necessarily a good thing. I said, let me ask you this. Where are the propellers on a helicopter? He goes, oh my gosh. That wasn't quite the word he used, but it's close. About 5 years after I did the reading for him, okay, there was a new safety item on the market. Now, I don't know if this guy came out, if this guy developed himself, or if somebody else did. What I do know is that helicopters all of a sudden had ejection seats. Okay, one type, bars would come down right beside their head, and then they'd get fired out sideways. The bars beside the head was to stop the whole concept of whiplash. The second design was it blew all the propellers at the same time and then fired the guy out through the roof. Either way, the guy is still going to live a whole lot longer. Okay, so if you've got an idea in your head, get it written down, start working with it, but take it one step at a time. That it's that kind of energy, that kind of drive that is going to see mankind in the interstellar race. Okay, well, joining the interstellar community. But it's going to take time. Okay, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Simply because technology at this point has not been developed that far. And of course, we have that neat little problem of, more than one person comes up with the idea and nobody wants to share it. Okay, which means they're working with only 1/3 of the available brain power. So, your sense of self-worth, if you know you can solve a problem, absolutely take that to heart. Hang on to that concept and start making it a reality. Just take small steps. Okay, and you'll find you can make it happen. But it's up to you to make it happen. I cannot give you the self-confidence. I can certainly say you've got it. But ultimately, it's up to you. one of the things we have to remember, humans are literally an infantile race. They have not been around for a long time, but we have managed to get off the planet. Okay, and this is something that is evolving. One thing that we've got to remember is whatever you're doing, when you work with other people, when you've got the extra brain power, you can absolutely make things happen a little bit more readily. Okay, when I took marketing, I was told it's called marketing math. Take two individuals, put them in separate rooms with the same problem. They'll come up with possibly two different ideas each. Okay, but marketing math says if you take those same two people, put them in the same room, then while they're working through things, the conversation between them will generate at least one more idea. Okay, thereby making it marketing math. 2 plus 2 equals 5. Okay, and this is something we can work with, but it's up to you to pull your head out of the sand and go, I can do better than what I've got. Okay, I'm going to do better. I'm going to run faster. I'm going to be able to lift more weight, whatever it is. Okay, I'm looking at it going, I've got 7 books in print. Okay, I'm now getting on track to get them all written properly. What is this? Now, the other neat little part of all this is when you look in the mirror and you go, I'm sure I can fly a spaceship. I'm absolutely certain of it because I play video games. I'll tell you, if it was that easy, we'd have solved the problem with transportation a long time ago. Okay, but those skills are transferable. If you're interested in that kind of career, start doing the legwork. And whatever you do, if they tell you you're not smart enough, you're not strong enough, do not give up. Okay, you may not have all the answers, but self-worth, especially, or more to the point, in a more enhanced fashion, is absolutely life dependent on a starship. Many of you have worked in submarines. Okay, they have the same isolation factor, but you learn to think on your feet very quickly, or you die. Take your pick. Okay, what I'm encouraging you to do is really focus on the things you'd like to accomplish. There we go. Here's a nice little piece of information for you. Trust Joseph Lanson to come up with the trivia. Okay, the Russians developed the first commercial ejection seat for the helicopter. He goes on to say most helicopters, there is no good way to leave it as it's rolling over. Absolutely. My dad used to work search and rescue on helicopters. But here's the thing. A gamble at getting out is better than no shot at all. Okay. That's the thing we gotta remember. Like with the old Vietnam helicopters. More often than not, they go around and around and around. This is not a fun thing to get out of. Okay. But we used to get out of it on the playground. Then they took that suicide ride out of the equation. What we have to realize is when you take a look at something you desire to accomplish, absolutely set about making it happen. Okay, when I turned around and penned this book, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams, it was literally a question of so many people were asking the same questions. Okay, and of course, spending 37 years as a professional psychic consultant with well over 100,000 clients. Okay. These 3 books were written because people were constantly asking the same questions. Okay. This is really the backbone of why I wrote them. It's also why I believe in your organization and Follow Your Dreams is currently being written. Because people do not, on the whole, seem to understand how being organized is going to enhance your ability to move forward. If you believe, if you tell yourself, I am worth it, meaning I art, you will be able to develop things a lot more effectively. Now, these 2 books here, okay, Mr. Dreamcatcher is a children's book. Okay, where are we? There we are. Why that works that way, I don't know. But Mr. Dreamcatcher is a children's book. I wrote this one because I got tired of reading Dr. Seuss and the Berenstain Bears. Okay, so I when he was about 2 years old. I kid you not. Once I wrote that, he would not go to bed until I'd read the story. He was about I think it was about 2 months before he turned 8, maybe a month. Okay, this one. Where are we here? There we go. Mr. Dreamcatcher Returns. Okay, that was written for my second son. Okay, Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Again, it was because I found something that was missing. Okay, now this neat little book, this one here, Races of the World, that was written. So many people on the Science Space Radio were asking for the information. So I put together a bunch of it and put it on the market. I am currently expanding it. Okay. And currently, where are we here? 4. So I take, what do we got? Just got to see how many there are here. One, two, three. Yep. I'm approaching a quarter of the way through it. Like I said, I'm aiming at getting it out by the end of July at the absolute latest. Now, these ones, okay, the Elderbachian Chronicles. These, when I was asked to write the storyline for them, it came to me in a really neat fashion. I found a neat way to combine the creationism theory, the theory of evolution, the off-worlders, ancient races, mythology, mankind, civilization, devastation, all under one roof. Okay. All of these are because I found something that was missing. Okay. That I could do something with. The same applies for many discoveries and many endeavors. Okay. There's an old saying that goes, necessity is the mother of all invention. In outer space with the off-world empire. When you take a look at that, they learn very quickly how to compensate for things falling apart. Okay, you blow an airlock, and all of a sudden everybody works together. Let me ask you this: which makes more sense? We're sitting here fighting over food, fighting over land. Okay, is this actually working to society's benefit? Or is it working to a few individuals? LA, how you feeling? I know you've been having a rough one today. So I hope you're feeling a little better. You know, what we've got to look at here is we can continue fighting. We absolutely can. But picture, if you will, take a table. Okay. One person on one end, one person on another. Okay, now, if you're working, and then of course you stack a whole pile of stuff on top of it. Right? Now, if you pick that up and you work together, you can move it. However, that's if you work together. If you start fighting, you start twisting and what have you, it's going to fall off. Same applies to society. We can stay on the path we're on. Okay, we absolutely can. Not for much longer, because mankind is fighting itself. Okay. You know, society is fighting amongst itself to an extreme level. And this is something we've got to start turning around. Now, answer me this one. Answer this one for yourself. Never mind for me. Okay? Let's take a look at medical work. Let's look at the operating room. Okay? People get hurt regularly. And doctors are there to give us a hand to put us back together. Which makes more sense. If you're in a peaceful situation, is it easier for the doctor to concentrate and concentrate and take care of the wounded? Or would it be easier in the middle of a firefight? Eternity, how you doing? Glad you could join us. It's this thing that we've got to look at, and people are overlooking. War does not make people relax. Okay, it doesn't bring peace. What it does is people get so afraid of doing anything, they hide. Communication lines collapse, food supplies dwindle, and yes, this is the path mankind is going down again. Those that do not know history are doomed to repeat it. Sadly, those that dwell on it have the same problem. So, with the fact that I remember Rome. Okay, I spent a lot of years in Rome. Oh, I spent, I think, 5 lifetimes. Okay, in Rome, ranging from simply a peasant, okay, all the way up to a senator. Okay, so I remember what Rome did, and I can tell you what I'm seeing right now. The Roman Empire was huge for the time. The human empire spans literally the entire world and then some. But you're walking down the same road. Now, a lot of the reason that we get a lot of off-world community that is watching, okay, is because people keep coming up. Humans keep coming up with, I deserve better than everybody else. By the way, that's not worth. That's ego. Okay, but to look in the mirror and go, I have valuable input, okay, that can benefit other people and that can benefit myself and other people. This is what I approach the world with. How is this going to affect me? Can I put it to use? And is putting it to use going to provide something that will help other people? Okay, the off-worlders are watching because here's what they're worried about. Mankind is so quick to jump to conclusions that everybody's out to kill them, that the off-worlders are coming here going, okay, let's see if their collective self-worth is going to get them to work together. Or is it going to blow them out of the water again? Okay, that's the thing we have to look at. Now, one of the things that I will tell you, if you've got a hiccup, if you don't know how to do things, talk to the people you know. I am not good with computers, so I call Storm up. Okay, I understand the way people think, and yes, I know that sounds cocky, But if I've got over 100,000 clients, with over 75% of them being either repeat or referral, it's possible I stumbled across a couple of tidbits. I will tell you, I do not look at anybody, off-worlders, ancient races, or humans, or other animals or plants for that matter, as any better or worse than the next. Okay, when you look at your self-confidence, and here, I guess I should have covered that a little while ago, but take a look at the little jobs that you've done. Okay, build on the little things. This will enable you to actually see a better outcome. Now, here's where this list comes in. You put 3 items on the list. Okay, and the reason I say stop at 3 is because it's very easy to get caught up in just making a list and going, I gotta get this done, this done, this done. It gets overwhelming. But you start on the list, and by the time you're done the day, because what you do is every time you have one, yeah, that's gonna work. White on a reflective screen is not working well. So we're not gonna worry about that. You'd think that would have clued in a little while ago. But when you start the list off, write the first one down. Put 3 down and then get started. When one gets eliminated, gets completed, check it off, add another one to the bottom of the list. By doing this, you will start to see that you're getting things accomplished. You will see that you're doing the work to prove that you actually have the capacity to get it done. Now, maybe your motivation isn't to prove that you did it, that you could do it. Maybe your motivation is, I'm tired of my life the way it is. And that's a fantastic motivator. It really is. Okay. But by breaking it down into smaller tasks of 15 minutes to a half hour in length, you will get a lot more accomplished, thereby enhancing your sense of accomplishment, your sense of self-esteem, your self-worth. Because what happens is this: as you get these tasks done, you'll start looking at it, and next thing you know, your house is back in an order that you can be happy bringing people in. Now, I will tell you, I've never run into anybody aside from that little green guy on Sesame Street, Oscar, who loved people that lived in dumps. He just loved the garbage. That goes back a day or two. I don't know if he ever got moved out or not, but what you will find is that by clearing it up, people come over to your place, or they take a look at the way you're dressed. If you're dressed in a shambles, okay, they're not going to look at you as though you're well put together. Not on the whole. Think of how you look at people that are dressed really shabbily or walk around with their head pointed at the ground. I cannot tell you how many people I have literally watched where they'll be hanging onto a cell phone and they'll walk into traffic. They won't even lift their head up. Now, I'm a firm believer that if somebody gets hit like that, Darwin comes to mind. I'm telling you, these things are a wonderful tool, very useful. I would not put as much strength in them as I put in my own mind. And rest assured, that's a shambles. But when we take a look at what you're accomplishing on Earth, what mankind is accomplishing as a society, in spite of the wars. And think of it, in spite of the wars, we have developed a lot of the things that Gene Roddenberry saw back in 1966, 67, when he brought Star Trek to the screen. Okay, Gene Roddenberry painted a picture that we are living a lot of today. Now, I will tell you, although we don't have transporters, we do have first-generation transporters. We call them elevators. But I know for a certainty there are people out there, some of them government, some of them private, that are working on teleportation devices. Okay, I know this because I was sent the information by one individual. Okay, and I told him how to correct the problem, or more to the point, how to spot the problem that he wasn't spotting. Okay, no, I'm not a genius in my eyes. Okay, I just have a tendency of spotting potholes. Now, oh, that's why. I'm just looking at Christoph up here on my windowsill, and he's sort of trying to wave to me with what I thought he was doing. I'm going to have to get him a drink in a little while. Actually, in all fairness, I really don't have to. But I will get him a drink in the near future. When you look at you, okay, ask yourself, okay, when you think about doing something, instead of going, well, it's not my responsibility, answer these two questions. If not you, who? If not now, when? If you are content with the way society is, I'm telling you, you might want to rethink. But that's just my opinion. But then I'm not content with the way society is. I can see some staggering flaws, and I've seen the outcomes of other races doing the same stupid thing. So I know the way that this society is walking, and it's walking that way because so few people look in the mirror and go, I am of value. I am worth it. I am worth your time. I am worth my time. And this is why I said it is critically important. You must be true to you first. If you are not being true to you, you're selling yourself short. And sooner or later, it will wear on you. I can't tell you when, I just know it will. Okay, when you start looking in the mirror and you start going, I can actually do this, that's when your life starts to change. Now, I can point this out a million times. Okay, and I will tell you, tomorrow we're going to be looking at it in a much more direct fashion on the creative side. And like we had with Philip a couple of days ago, absolutely, the person that opens up, and I may end up focusing on an individual because I feed directly off the stream, off of what goes up in the chat room. That's just the way I've always worked. As a chap I was talking to today pointed out, if people don't ask it quite often, I'll overlook it. Okay, but the information's there. It is time, literally, for everybody, regardless of your race, regardless of your configuration, regardless of your gender. Okay, take all differentiators aside. It is time for the people of this world to join together and literally work to eliminate the complications that we ourselves have built in. Okay, there is, the saying is, there is no I in team. Okay, which is true. But the flip side of that is also correct. There's no team in I. Okay, and when you look at that, do understand none of you are better than the next person on the whole. Yes, you may have better skills than some people. Okay, like I trust just about anybody to drive a straight nail as compared to me. Now, part of that is because I've never taken the time to learn it. Part of it is because my coordination is limited. Now, maybe I could get better. Okay, but I tell you, got my hands full with the number of books I'm working on. One of the other things that we look at when we start talking about the way that this world is sitting, okay, and that is look at the off-worlders. They travel literally light years. Of course, we got somebody in the audience I don't know if they're in this audience or if they listen to it later, that will go, there's no proof that aliens exist. Well, let me put this to you clearly. Lack of proof of existence is not proof of non-existence. Okay. Now, I'm not going to make any effort to get people to believe what I'm saying. I'm just asking you, ask yourself this. Okay. If aliens are out there, may they have figured out some of the technological things that mankind has not? And that being said, how can you, as an individual, be of benefit to a much larger community? Start with the current one. Take a look at your own house. Okay. And now let's look at a lower life form. You got a cat or a dog. Okay. They don't speak like you. They don't think like you. They don't respond like you. But do they have any value? Okay. Are they of any viable use to you? You know, this is the thing we have to really take a look at. I see there, LA. LA Moon is just reminding me that we're down to 30 minutes. Okay. You know, if you've got a pet, maybe you've got a budgie. Okay. All right, now you take care of these animals, hopefully. Okay. But what value do they bring to the table? Is it monetary or is it here? I know when I had pets, it was literally here. Okay, because I'll tell you, pets, like kids, can be extremely expensive. Now, here's the thing. You start looking in the mirror going, I am worth it. Okay, you take that into this localized world. Okay, and you start carrying yourself that way. This does not mean become belligerent. Do not stand there telling people, I am worth it. You know, I'm worth it, and therefore treat me better. Newsflash, if you're not doing something to demonstrate that you're making an effort, most people will not pay attention to you. Okay. Matter of fact, some will sit there going, I wonder when that's going to blow up. You know, it's like, you know, there are some really stupid things people have done over the years. And my usual question when I come across them is not, did you think about that? I don't even get finished the concept. It's like, did you even think? Okay. I will tell you, I grew up in an age where we thought it was great. Car drive slowly down the road, slowly being 15, 20 miles an hour. Okay. And it's going around the corner because they have to slow down. Kids are running out of the ditch, in behind the car, grab hold of the bumper, and crouch down and do what we called it bumper surfing. Not a brilliant idea. Okay. I mean, let's face it. Grab because you crouch down. Sometimes the driver never saw you get on. And if that's the case, some people got killed. Absolutely. But all the safety precautions in the world will not save everybody. There's going to be an exception. When we take a look at the way mankind is evolving, many off-worlders look at the speed mankind is evolving and going, your technology is outrunning your social wisdom. You might want to slow down. Okay. But mankind is, as was put in Jurassic Park, mankind seems so concerned with can they do something, they're not thinking about should they. Okay. I worked out when I made my trip to Reno. Okay. I figured out, and I miscalculated certain parts of it. I figured out, yes, I was going to make the trip. Yes, it had way more benefits than it did dangers. As it turned out, it hit most of the dangers. But it's one of these things that we now look at that as a society we have to look at and go, well, we don't have to. And go, okay, what changes are we going to make to bring this into balance. Now, here's the question for you. Yeah, Storm goes, some learn by hearing, some by seeing, some by reading, and some just have to take off the electric fan. Yeah. Yeah, and some just have to wet the electric fence for themselves. And I've met all kinds of people. Okay, now I will tell you, I've run into people that made the mistake that read about the electrical. My father was one of them. Okay, I've met people that learn by doing, learn by reading. You know, I know somebody that actually did that to their own brother. Some people learn by pictures. Some people just refuse to learn. They go, I know it all. Have you ever met a teenager that didn't go, I know what I'm doing? That I've seen examples of this all over the place. I remember one 12-year-old in recent times, about 5 years ago, told the father told her to do something. She goes, I'm 12 years old. I know my rights. I'm going to call social services. And they're going to come here and make sure you let me do what I want. The father looked at her and smiles and goes, and I'm an adult, and I know, and he picks up the phone and hands it to her. He says, I know if you call social services, they're going to come out here, and it's going to take about 20 minutes to get here. And when they get here, I am going to end up getting arrested. I may do jail time because you didn't want to clean your room. So I also know that in that 20 minutes, I have all the time in the world to beat you from one end of the house to the other and make it worth my while to go to prison. So think about that. And either phone them if that's what you wish, or go and clean your room. Now, I don't threaten anybody. Okay. I'm just telling you, that's the road you're going down. Society right now, and I watched a civilization implode. Centuries back, like I said, I remember past lives. Okay. I was dealing with the Sarkon. Okay. These are 12 to 15 foot reptilians. They are also the ancestors of the Shazazian, the Tormenon, and the Kamalians. Okay, I dealt with them when their empire was expanding, and I kept telling them, you expand at the level you are, you're going to overextend. Oh no, we know what we're doing. We're going out to explore. We're going to conquer all of this area. Brilliant idea. Several thousand years later, they ran into a problem. Okay, now you got to understand, civilizations take a long time. But I tried to warn them, and they didn't listen. They ended up expanding too far and having to leave 3 branches of their people behind. Now, there's a whole lot more to that story. Mankind does the same thing. Yeah, Storm goes, oh, here we are. Storm says, one of my favorite bumper stickers, teenagers, get out on your own while you still know everything. And then Christine goes, I was that way with my mom and my daughter was that way with me as a teen. My karma, it's like a terrible twos, only as teenagers. Absolutely there is, Philip. Absolutely brilliant question. And Philip Blair is asking, is there a positive way to expand an empire? Absolutely. Lay the groundwork. Okay. And to give you an idea just how much I've thought that through, let's see if I've got it handy here. Is that it? No. What you do, Philip, is get an idea of how big you desire it to be. Okay, to start with. Okay. You literally go, okay. And this is something I ask everybody that I talk to that's going to open a company. How big do you desire it to be? In my case, I'm building an empire that is it's targeting spanning the entire world. Now, as Joe Stewart pointed out about a year ago now, I've already spanned the entire world. Now it's time to build it. Okay. But I've already taken a look at Inner Voice Enterprises. You lay out what you're aiming for, put ground rules in place that apply to everybody. Okay. You've got to look down the road and absolutely imperative. Make certain whatever changes you're making are going to have that you've taken into consideration what that is going to do to the community and the environment around you. Okay, the North American Indians, the one and I mean I don't know what label is best. I call them people. Okay, but they used to have the idea real simple. If we're going to cut down a tree, we're going to look 7 generations, as in 140 years down the road, before we cut that first tree down and see what that's going to look like. Okay, and they did it for centuries. Mankind comes along and goes, I want to build now. So let's go to this sloping mountainside and let's clear cut it so that we can put buildings up. And we stuck them out too far and let's put them on stilts. Good idea. In the middle of an earthquake zone. Okay. See, I put houses on stilts with a beautiful view. It's a great idea. It really is. Okay. Or clear cut an entire mountainside. Take all the trees out, ignoring the fact that those trees are holding the dirt in place. So when you're looking at expanding, look at worst case scenario. If I do this, what is the outcome? Okay, to that point, I've already looked at the idea of incorporating my company. It's not going to happen the way the law is set up right now. Okay, it's not going to happen. And the reason for that is because if you expand too fast, what ends up happening is you outrun your own ability to support yourself. Okay, so it literally boils down to a lot of planning, a lot of discussing. Okay, and this I will tell you, and I mean I've spoken to them already. When I go down to Las Cruces, okay, I am going down there with a couple of very specific goals. Clearly, one of my big goals is to visit with old friends with friends, I don't know if I want to call them old. Okay, with friends that I haven't seen in somewhere close to a decade. I think Lynn told me that it was 8 years. Okay, it's been too long. So that is definitively one of the reasons. One of the things I'm aiming at. Okay, the other thing I'm looking at is discussing the whole issue of where Inner Voice is going and where it can be adjusted, because it is time. And I'm only a little guy. Okay, I'm not some sort of big corporation. I just have big vision. That's it. It's been that long. Holy mackerel. LA's going, it's been 15 years. I did not realize it had been that long. Oh, that's true too. I was chalking that up to the trip I made. I did not realize it had been that long. Yeah, this is definitely something we are making. Oh, okay. Only 10. That's good. That's bad. I didn't think we had been around that long. But, there we are. Yeah, that's terrible, LA. We've known each other 15 years, haven't seen each other in 10 years, and yet we still have a solid connection. This is something that I personally am very proud of, especially given the fact that I do not connect with people well, which gives you an idea of their tolerance levels. But it is this time we're going down there with a number of purposes in mind. Okay, when you're building an empire, ask the questions. Ask the question, first of all, why are you letting it grow that size? Are you growing it that size to help each other? Or, are you going to help each other? Or are you doing it because you desire a pat on the back because you're so special? Okay, keep in mind, why are you building something? Okay, what is the reason? That's one of the first questions that is wise to put together. Because an empire, there's nothing wrong with an empire. There's a problem with letting an empire get too big or being controlled with no guidelines. Okay, now, I don't know the veracity of this. My understanding from the independent presidential candidates I've talked to from the States is that in the case of the United States anyway, they apparently have a book that you have to look through to make sure things stay contained in a stable fashion. The problem, in my opinion, is the book was written, I believe, in 1867. It's almost 200 years out of date. Some of the policies might need to be reworked. Okay, I'm looking at the way the world is right now and going, it is time that we put all of our differences aside. I absolutely agree. People like Storm and Joseph absolutely have a viable reason to look down on many people. Okay, absolutely they do. Okay, the only people I figure it's okay to look down on are the people that are shorter than you or are standing or sitting in a place that is below your eyesight. Then look down on them. Other than that, everybody is equal. And this is the thing, when you're building an empire, you must have laws that apply to everybody. Yes, as people attain higher levels, higher forms of responsibility, they do have other obligations and other freedoms to go with it. But this should not be something that is ever segregated as far as men and women goes. Okay, absolutely. Having height restrictions on things, kind of important. Okay. I don't think I've got my copy of Necronomicon, but the Necronomicon, Philip, is just another belief structure. That's it. It is not it's not a bad book in and of itself. Just like guns are not bad things. Okay. Guns themselves are not the problem. People's attitude towards them and their treatment of them is the problem. When we are looking at your self-worth, be aware. Self-worth is a statement of I am this way. Ego is I am this way, so I'm better than you. Okay, I am not better than any one of you. Okay, I'm really not. I will get flack for this, I know. But I am a firm believer that I am not that special. Okay, everybody can do the same thing I'm doing. The only thing I've got is I've got a focus. I've got a dream that I already know about. Okay, and I'm simply opening the door and saying, you're welcome to join me. Okay, they tell me it's lonely at the top, so I'm thinking, they told me it was lonely at the top. I'll tell you, the people off-world have the same problem. There are places on their ships I can't go. Okay, I do not have carte blanche to walk wherever I choose. But I will tell you, on a Swazian ship, half the reason I can't go places is because they come from a high gravity planet. Okay, and their doors are absolutely horrendous in weight. Okay, so yes, and you're gonna love this one. I have been to their homeworld. Heck, I can't tell you comfortably how to get to a little pocket town in this city, right in like near the city that I'm in. So am I telling you where it is on a star map? Good freaking luck. Okay, good luck with that. I can't tell you how to get to half the little areas in my area that I've been to. But what I will tell you is that as we evolve, as we work together, this world is going to change. Now, you can either watch it fall apart, help it fall apart, or do what you can to help it grow. But if it goes untended, just like a wound, if you do not tend it, if you do not clean it out, it is going to fester and it's going to die. Okay, I literally, I've had this same conversation with people from other races as well. Humans are not that different to me. They look different, they sound different. Lord knows some of them smell different. Okay, but on the other hand, I've found some humans where they have such a bad setup of BO that it brings the tears to your eyes. Now, this is not against them. There may be a reason for it. I don't know. Maybe when I ran into that person, unbeknownst to me on a practical level, maybe they were dying from cancer. Okay, and that is the scent of decay. Not a real pleasant thing to smell. But got a question for you, Philip. Philip's going, I would love to visit my homeworld. Don't know where it is. Okay. Literally write everything down about it that you can. Okay. The more you can become aware of what it is in the cognitive sense, the more likely you are to identify where it is. Now, I'm lucky because I will warn you, regardless of what your memories tell you, if your body is sustained by human food, if your body is sustained and does react in a positive fashion to beneficial medication, I'm not debating with anybody. Your memories may be of a prior lifetime that are so dominant that they overshadow this one. But in this corporeal form, your homeworld is undoubtedly Earth. But take a look at your memories of what you call your home world. Okay? It may sound like imagination to you, but write them down anyway in as much detail as you can. Involve as many senses as you can pull online. Sights, smells, sounds, textures, everything. Okay? The more you write it down, the clearer it becomes. Okay. And maybe while you're doing that, I will not say it will happen, but it is possible that the actual location of the planet may come to your mind. Okay. But there is a reason that most people forget their past lives. Okay. By the way, when I went to the Swazian homeworld, that's not my homeworld. That is not the furthest back I recall. Okay. But the furthest back I do recall is mind-boggling, to say the least. Okay. One thing that you have to, and that is wise for all people to realize, and that is that we are living in a world where physically it's getting bigger. But because of technology and communication lines, it is seeming smaller. it is time to start treating all people as equals. Okay, whether they are from here or from somewhere else, doesn't matter. Okay, as the saying goes, all people come from somewhere, not always the same place. But what we are looking at here, yes, I've just noticed something there. Tomorrow, we are going to be looking at the creative side. And Philip, this is one that's going to play a real heavy duty role on what you've just asked. Because we're going to put your imagination to work so you can take a look at some different, at a different way of building your self-esteem. And I do mean literally, we're going to take a creative look at how to get a better handle on yourself and why that works. Okay. Yeah, I caught that just a minute ago. My computer side was down to 5, but we are going to look at the creative side. Now, I don't know just yet what we're dealing with. I've got it written down somewhere next week. But absolutely, guys. Absolutely, Philip. I will tell you, the best Newfie joke I ever heard came, and by the way, for those of you that don't know what a Newfie is, they live in Canada in a little community called Newfoundland, one of our provinces on the eastern coast. One of the best Newfie jokes I ever heard was told to me by a Newfie. Okay, it was absolutely priceless. Okay, and here's a short one of the ones that he came up with. How did the Newfie kind of break his arm raking leaves? Okay, this was the whole question. How did the Newfie break his arm raking leaves? I looked at the Newfie and I went, I don't know. How did he do it? The Newfie looks at me and smiles and goes, he fell out of the tree. But I will tell you, Newfies and Quebecers there's nothing wrong with them. I question some of their likes and dislikes, but I question some of everybody's likes and dislikes. I was down in the States and I tried something called grits. Never, ever, ever again will I try that. I know some of you guys swear by them. They're great things. And no, they aren't. Not in my opinion. Okay, but tomorrow we will be dealing with literally painting a world. No, not literally. Verbally painting a world to show you how the creative mind can generate incredible images. Okay, we're going to do that tomorrow. But we are running out of time here. So, with that in mind, thank you so very much for sharing your time with us. I really do appreciate it. Your support is invaluable to me. Okay, I will see you again tomorrow. But until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.